You're welcome back to Midday Live. Now, a group calling itself the Patriotic Front Ghana has petitioned the presidency, the NDC and NPP to disband all vigilante groups. The group has given these groupings 21 days to disband all of these groups ahead of the 2020 elections, or they will resort to the courts. The group had earlier on October 1 petitioned 16 stakeholders asking them to disband these groups. According to the Patriotic Front, their petition has not been responded to. They have also appealed to the media to support the cause. So the group is calling for the vigilante groups to be disbanded ahead of the 2020 elections. Now, I do have in the studio two political parties. We have Kamaldeen Abdullahi of the NPP and Emmanuel Wilson Jr. of the PNC. Now, good afternoon to you, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, everyone.
So I'm pretty sure you did hear the group calling for these groups to be disbanded. How do you feel about it?
Well, I think in every political environment, vigilantism, or if you like, hooliganism, is not encouraged at all. I mean, it's something that we should all fight against. However, when I read their piece, I mean, their statement issued, I found it a bit worrying. I found it a bit worrying, not because of the call, but because of the ambit with which the statement sought to deal with the matter. We are running a multi-party democracy. Reason why today I have my brother Wilson here to help us discuss this matter. But there in the statement from them, I realized they were concentrating on NDC MPP as though we're running only a two-party, states.
And you believe they don't have a cause to, because these two political groups are the ones who often have these groups, perpetrating these acts.
You see, when you are tackling a problem, tackle it holistically. Today, you are citing MPP, you are citing NDC, and I'm saying that we are running a multi-party democracy. You're talking about critical stakeholders here who are supposed to sit down, jaw, and understand whether or not this ugly, if you like, happenings in our society regarding vigilantism should be nipped in the bud or not nipped in the bud. Then you choose to say, let me take these people out.
Right. Let's not dwell on that issue. Can we dwell on the substantive issue here?
Yeah, the substantive issue I'm dealing with. We're talking about having entire political parties in this country attesting or agreeing to a fact that, look, let us all fight against this canker. Is going to be a problem. Therefore, we don't take people out. So it's on the issue. Now,
just hold on briefly for me. We've been joined on the phone lines by the head of that group calling for the vigilante groups to be disbanded. Good afternoon to you, Moses.
Good afternoon, madam.
Right. So now some of the political parties are not happy with your call because they said you are only focusing on NPP and NDC, but there should be a holistic way of looking at it. Is it something that you feel you fall short of, or you fell short of in this quest you're upon?
Yes, he may be right in some way, but the reason why we are focusing on the NPP and NDC that they have the backing. For instance, the NPP has the backing of the government for now. Whatever happens, you see them, rising up and say, oh, these are the 30 members, so we cannot do anything. Like what happened in Kumasi when they went to the court. You understand? So we are now focusing on the two main political parties because they have the backing. Yes, that is why we are doing that.
Now, you also mentioned that you didn't have the support of most stakeholders. What exactly do you mean?
Can you please come again?
You also mentioned that you didn't have the support of most stakeholders.
We are not saying that. We said we sent the petitions to about 15 stakeholders, and we've not heard from any of them. Like the Christian Council, the Chief Imam, all the groups, the one that, we have not heard from them after we've sent the petition. That is what we are saying.
Also, now you've given them 21-day ultimatum. When is that ending, and what will be your next action?
Yeah, starting from on the 1st of this month. So 1 week is already gone.
And what will be your next action at the end of the 21-day ultimatum?
We'll be going to court.
Right.
This is a country governed by rules and regulations. We can't just wake up one day and say that we are doing this or that. We will go to court for interpretation. Probably the Supreme Court, they will be able to tell us that these vigilante groups are legal or illegal. They will give us all these interpretations. If they say it is legal, then we can all join the force and then create our own vigilante groups. If not, then we should disband all of them. That is that. Well,
thank you very much. Moses Kwesi Donkor is the Secretary of the Patriotic Front Movement of Ghana. Now let's get back into the studios. So let me go to you, Emmanuel. So you did hear him. He says that at the end of it all, they are looking at going to court. But before that, let me first ask you, what do you feel about these vigilante groups? How do you feel about them?
If I see the problem we have in this country is that we are always defining our problems wrongly. And so we end up getting the wrong answer to it. Now, the guy is talking about going to court. I'm wondering if there's any law that bans formation of groupings. I don't think so. Vigilantism in itself is not wrong. And I don't think that is what they should concentrate on. What we should concentrate on as a nation is the act that is being perpetrated by those groupings, all right? Now, those acts, which of course clearly all of us say that it is illegal. You don't need to be in a group to perpetuate illegal acts. The basic problem we have here is the way and manner in which our security agencies approaches the so-called political crimes in this country. And so if I belong to PNC and we go for a function, and whether I'm in a group or as an individual, I slap someone in that function, it becomes difficult for the police to take me on because they classify it as a political crime. You remember in Chiriponi, where we had a by-election, there was this guy who was in front of all the police guys. He was shooting, giving warning shots. Later, it came out that he wasn't part of the security agencies. He was arrested. Just a week or so, he was released. And when he was released, I remember I attended a function where the police came to talk about this. And when I raised this question, the answer that came was that he was released because they got instructions from authorities from above. You understand? The same thing, if you go to Etiwa by-election, I was there. There were these groupings from both the NDC and the NPP. And they were fighting in the presence. They were throwing stones and all that in the presence of policemen. I approached one policeman and I said, look at what these guys are doing. Can't you stop them? The answer the policeman gave me was that, boss, you know, these are political things. We need to get authorization before we step in. What we need to look at is not whether a political party should have a vigilante group or not. What we should be looking at is why the political parties have resorted to vigilante groupings. And it is simply because if I belong to the PNC and we go for a function, and where I realize that a grouping from the MPP or a grouping from the NDC is or are intimidating my people, and I resort to the police and I realize the police are not able to protect me, I will also be forced to go and create a vigilante group. You understand? And so whether we should be building a vigilante group or not, for me, it is not the issue. The issue we should be looking at is, why is it that the police are not able to treat individuals as individuals when they perpetuate or they commit crime? If you belong to a Delta Force, that doesn't make you or doesn't give you the audacity to go to a courtroom and then vandalize the place. If you belong
let me sorry not to cut you in, but let me just ask Kamal a question. So you are with the political parties. I'm sure you are not happy with what is going on.
It's obvious.
So what would you propose as political parties? How would you propose that we deal with this issue?
You see, a friend of mine always say that talk is cheap. And that is what we embark on in this country as a people. We've always resorted to talking, but we've never resorted to really putting actions in place. Again, Wilson raises a very important point when he talks about lack of trust in our security agencies. I mean, this is a very important angle we should look at. Now, if you have an apolitical, and I'm emphasizing on that, oriented security agency, which every single political party will repose confidence in, then of course, at the end of the day, during electioneering campaign, we all would have cause to visit or to use them. But see, the point is that we have created an atmosphere where there is lack of trust in the system. Therefore, we all say, okay.
And who are the we? Obviously not
we, the political parties,
exactly.
Basically.
So how do you...
That is why I'm saying that, look, he makes another important point. With recourse to our constitution, there is no law saying that do not go into association or as a group. Rather, it entrenches in our law, or it is enshrined in our law, that you can go out there to form some associations, if you like, under 21D or thereabout. But I think what you do with the group is what matters. Let us try to admonish all political parties, including my political party, to see to making sure that indeed, at the end of the day, we don't come out to gloat over some of these things. Not too long ago,
I'm sorry that I may have to just cut you and let Emmanuel briefly, what we need to do briefly.
Well, what we need to
the political parties.
Well, we want to talk about more of NDC and MPP and not the political parties, because we don't, aside the NDC and the MPP, none of the other parties have got vigilante groupings. But I think from the way things are going,
I disagree. There are other
from the way things are going, if our security agencies are not firm, all the other parties will be encouraged to do same, because at the end of the day, self-preservation is the #1 thing. Absolutely. So, but you see, what we need to do is that we should encourage, for me, I don't have any problem having groupings. What the political parties should do is to ensure that those groupings, their actions and inactions, are not outside the remit of the laws that governs us.
Thank you very much, Kamaldeen Abdullahi of the NPP and Emmanuel Wilson Jr. of the PNC. Now let's turn our attention back to education, and the national organizer aspirant of the opposition NDC, Joseph Akamba, has slammed the Ghana Education Service, describing officials as having sold their conscience to the NPP. Joseph Akamba has come under public bashing for allegedly inciting students of the Timpani Senior High School against the government's free SHS policy. He was speaking with 3FM's morning show host, Winston Amwa.
Video footage of the national organizer aspirant of the NDC, Joseph Akamba, interacting with students of the Timpani Senior High School in the Upper East region has since gone viral. The video has caused the Ghana Education Service to reiterate its directive barring partisan political activities in schools. The headmaster of the Timpani Senior High School has since been suspended following the incident. On 3FM's morning show, Joseph Akamba said officials of the GES should bow down their heads in shame.
Education themselves have sold their conscience.
GES has sold its conscience?
Don't you know?
To who?
To MPP. When Nana Akufo-Addo went to the schools with the toddlers award Akufo-Addo MPP t-shirts, when Dr. Bamian made the schools little kids who in the next 20 years they will not be voting, GES, were they in this country? They should bow their heads to shame.
GES should bow its head in shame.
Yes. For allowing themselves to be used by politicians.
Akamba, who has been invited by the police, said he would honor the invitation.
People calling for my arrest.
Yes, I've heard people call for your arrest. I haven't heard anybody call for
okay, so for my arrest.
Yes.
You think that is fair? I want to be their Messiah. I tell you. Believe me, you, Chief. They should just let me know how long they want to keep me. I'll carry my bag and follow them.
When are you going to the police station?
I should organize a vehicle that is going to carry me to that place. And so I'll go.
When did they ask you to report?
They expect me from now to the evening.
Meanwhile, pressure has since mounted on the NDC activist to apologize for his action.
Right, so let's go on to the phone lines now and speak with Vincent Asafua, who is the head of PR unit of the Ministry of Education. Good afternoon to you, Vincent.
Good afternoon, but I can hardly hear you. If you can help me raise up your voice a little bit.
Right, so your statement suggesting that people cannot campaign? Hello, Vincent.
Yes.
Yes. Now, so your statement that you issued, is it suggesting that nobody should talk about the challenges of the free SHS?
Absolutely not. Nobody has said so. Let me say a very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. I have issued a statement just about 30 minutes ago, indicating clearly that the Ministry of Education's attention has been drawn to the double track being converted to single track and vice versa. The truth of the matter is that when we started with the double track, we created the attention or we created the awareness of the people of Ghana that we have about 400 schools that we are going to use for the double track. Now, the intention was that those schools are oversubscribed schools, and for that matter, if the existing facilities there may not be able to hold the numbers, then why don't we have double track in doing schools? So if you take Catalyst Senior High School, for example, clearly the numbers that we are anticipating to be in Catalyst when we are planning the double track have not been able to get to that number. And so if Catalyst was anticipating to have 1,000 and only 300 or 400 students apply to that school, obviously you can't have double track in such schools. So we are not saying that nobody should, as it were, bring out the challenges that come to double track, but we need to make sure that the right thing is being done.
No, so you are asking the headmaster to stop the running of the school, hand it over to the directorate. Now, some are saying that what did he actually do wrong? Some are asking what he did wrong, because he wasn't the one who was in that video.
Let me tackle it from a moral perspective. These kids are kids that are about 14 years, 15 years at most when you enter senior high school. And it cannot be right to subject these kids at this age as their political immaturity to partisan politics. When you look at the video very well, there was an intention, or let me say, something that was used to hit at the president. If you really look at the video well, there was a place that Mr. Akamba had to even say that, let's say, shame to the president. These are students that we are teaching social studies at their various senior high schools. These are students that we think that we should be able to teach them the history of this country very well and incorporate into them the spirit of respect and patriotism into them. So it can't be right for us to have a situation whereby somebody will enter a school and is. However, the rules and regulations of the Ghana Education Service, as far as the teacher code is concerned, is that it cannot be a situation whereby a teacher or headmaster will involve him or herself or as it were assist in an ideological inculcation into students in their various schools. Again, students are also not allowed through the assistance of the headmaster or the teacher to partake in what we call active partisan politics.
Right,
so
that's right. Thank you very much, Vincent Asafua, who is the head of PR at the Ministry of Education. Now, meanwhile, a former Deputy Communications Minister under the Mahama administration, Felix Kwachiofusu, is questioning the rationale behind the GES statement condemning partisan politics in senior high schools. He argues that the government is panicking because it has failed to deliver and is using the GES to stop people from talking about the challenges with the free SHS policy.
If students bump into a politician and engage him in a conversation, and the politician says things that the government deems uncomfortable, why should the headmaster bear the brunt of it? When Dr. Baumia and Haji Alima went to those secondary schools in the northern region, which headmaster was held liable? Which headmaster was suspended for it? So why should this poor headmaster be subjected to this sort of vindictiveness, this sort of intolerant behavior, only because his pupils, or sorry, his students have interacted with the politician? What harm has befallen those children? How has that activity disrupted the academic calendar
on what basis is the MPP pretending now to be angry because students have ambushed former President Mahama and Mr. Akamba to interact with them? You see, what the impression you get is that the very poor implementation of the free senior high school program has turned up many problems, and this government is keen to suppress coverage of those problems in order to present a story that is not accurate and that does not represent the reality on the ground. As we speak, we are aware that many headmasters who are seeing huge problems with the implementation of the program have been cowed into silence. They are not allowed to voice concern about the problems that they are superintending. You recall the fate that befell the, is it La Presby senior high school headmaster. After he opened his doors to the media to tell them the problems he was facing in the school, the congestion and overcrowding and the terrible and deplorable state of affairs in the school, he was transferred.
And of course, the challenges associated with the free SHS policy. And we here at Media Journal tomorrow, we will be holding that discussion on 1 year of free SHS, what we've learned from it and what we're also seeing. And joining me on Skype is Peter Party-Anti, who is the Executive Director of the Institute of Education Studies on the free SHS. Peter, good afternoon to you. Now, 1 year of free SHS, how would you rate it?
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the opportunity. 1 year of free SHS, I would look at it from the very themes that served as the basis for the implementation of the program. When the program was launched, 3 themes were broadcast and used and advertised to all of us, and these themes were the themes of access, equity, and quality. So any evaluation of the policy should revolve around these 3 things, and we have to ask ourselves whether we've been able to create access after 1 year, whether we've been able to achieve the tenet of equity after 1 year, whether we've been able to improve quality education at the secondary school level after 1 year. So if you have time, I can take them one by one and then do a little exposition on that.
Just briefly on each of them.
Okay, so in terms of access, yes, I would say that I'll be able to create access because access comes with two main factors. That is the financial barrier and infrastructure. Now, with the finance aspect, we've been able to remove that from the secondary school education system. And now what we are experiencing is an increase in enrollment at all levels. In terms of infrastructure, we have not been able to do much, although a lot of plans have been given to us. And we think that if plans follow as they have been communicated, then we'll be able to solve that problem of infrastructure. I think that one also led to the introduction of the double track system. In terms of equity, we've been able to, equity can be looked at in 2 different perspectives, fairness and inclusion. And when you delve into the concept of equity, we are looking at socioeconomic equity and then gender equity. In terms of socioeconomic equity, we've not been able to achieve much. That is why we keep on saying that the financing of the free SHS policy should be looked at again. In terms of gender equity, we've been able to achieve that because now there's no discrimination as to whether somebody will get access to secondary education irrespective of his or her gender. Then in terms of quality, quality also comes with 2 things, input and then output. Input variables such as the teacher to student ratio, teacher to student ratio, student to classroom ratio, student to textbooks ratio, and all those things are things that we have to still look at. The double track system would have might help us to solve some of the problem with the congestion and increase in class size. So that has been dealt with. And in terms of outputs, we will have to wait till 2021 when the first batch graduates.
This interview here, unfortunately, but thank you for your take. Now, we've been speaking with Peter Party-Anti, who is the Executive Director of the Institute of Education Studies. You're watching Midday Live on TV3. We'll be back shortly.
Me kota adwe di brand mo famu
la obi aka jo so yare
ma ye ko no ye nu ba bia ana of a the boss wo bedun so si ya no fa gwa chi Peter so si di na chi so bedun so ya twa of a gwa chi Peter sa onwie da Africa no be a jojo no na ma amama ferry sa junso de o na obekọ akogina ho ana junso no e ma adura uhia eye ven capsules VENE
ya nya madi
sa wo yo ba ana se bema sa wo junso hu ha nko ade a adura uhia eye ven capsules VENE
am
Onye bi ato ewo pharmacy, chemical, any herbal shops. Na emom enye ma nkwada wondi mfie dumienu. Apimfo any abata omoma omomanufo. FDA ahwehwe edwedwe kratoi agye atumu se eye.
Please, may I help you?
And name my wife birthday. Be PBB or something romantic.
Forever easy.
Forever easy too.
Pochonyenchia.
Oh.
Forever easy sanitary pads.
Oh, okay.
Hey, oh yes, 662. For heavy flow. Na panty line bien sushi. No, mint scented. Hey, also, oh yes, strawberry scented. Also, your 442 for lighter flow. Hey, now, oh, you have price of this. Internet bien na bema easy comfort. E could be a better biano. We donate to one person. Dima Breast Care International. Them obey a embassy for year better yen. Inti e na me recommend more there from our wife na bibia be kama.
I need to. Forever easy sanitary pad. Full natural, full easy.
Oh, TV3 near Kapema for traditional cancer. The Ohumojura Brew. If you remember that 6 October, in consequence, 14th October 2018. Branabeka TV3 where for Brian the Ohumojura 2018. Rebrew man from the corners. Namisi, feed that October 12 no. Was cooking baby. Hey, and Napa Ohumojura cooking context. Hina and Nebia they were Kapema. And you go you. Now, remember that 13th October no. And on the more fire on the Kapema Mountain. Over the me say, yeah, but damn people on Ebutuno, a Ohumojura music jam featuring Daddy Opanka, Eddie K, and the Contakra 3FM 92.7, Onya 95.1 FM, 3news.com, and the Connect 97.1 FM Watercrade. Kaise, TV3 Kapim Mampo Ohumojura 2018, sponsors in Enapa Mackerel, Heaven Black Mosquito Coil and Spray,
and Universal Merchant Bank.
You're welcome back to Midday Live. Now, the Bank of Ghana is set to move into the savings and loan sector to address the challenges in there. A source close to the Central Bank and the Finance Ministry stated that an announcement will be made by the Central Bank Governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, in a matter of days or weeks. Such an action will see the Bank of Ghana move beyond ongoing reforms in the universal banking space into the other deposit-taking institutions for the first time. The only challenge for the Central Bank, the source noted, is a decision on which module to use, either a purchase and assumption, whereby strong savings and loans companies will take up selected assets and liabilities of the insolvent ones, or consolidation of all the insolvent ones into the new SNL entity. In the studio with me is Twenebua Kodua, who is the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Company. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, if the BOG comes into the space, savings and loans, what mode would you want it to use?
Okay. The regulator knows better, and the operators have been collaborating with the regulator as to the best approach. The first approach has to do with give the operators some time so that whatever that they need to do, they can confidently put in place. Of course.
How much time, for instance?
After all, the banks were given some time.
About a year?
About a year. And so, but we are very confident that the regulator will want to protect the depositors' funds. And so, therefore, this actually goes out there to assure depositors of all these institutions that once the regulator is thinking about the interest of the depositor, I as a depositor need not worry. Whichever approach that the regulator takes, as in he says that 2-3 institutions come together to become stronger so you can serve your customers better. We have seen that approach. The second one could be as to the regulator bailing the institutions out or even injecting some liquidity support there. That is also an approach that the regulator may opt to support institutions who have good structures, but maybe because of the current economic challenges, they may not have liquid.
Now, so in the midst of the current financial challenges that we are having in this country, how strong is the savings and loans sector?
I must say that the savings and loan sector is one of the very strong financial institutions in the country. Because if you're talking about 37 companies, and of course about 1 or 2 of them have challenges of late, we cannot say that we have any major challenge at hand. But of course, the regulator knows best and knows how and we want the whole industry to become in the near future. And so we will want to assure the public that the sector is still strong and very robust. The regulator is also doing all its best to make sure that the posted funds are protected. And of course, we want a better financial system.
Thank you very much. And after so many years off the music stage, hip life artist Okonfo Kwade thrilled patrons with his hit songs to announce a comeback. 15 minutes on stage was never a dull moment. Naftali Ba was there and has the following report.
I loved Okonfo Kwade's performance coming back, and you know, the only bit that I wouldn't really applaud is the fact that he was trying to introduce new songs. No, a stage like this, you come with your hit songs, like Kitty did, like Kwame Eugene did, like Wendy Shea did. It's all beautiful back-to-back songs, and people get excited. You give them a good time for their money.
And before we take leave of you, let's look at the top stories once more. Group demands vigilante groups disbanded ahead of 2020 elections. Will the political parties heed to the call? Communities lending support to improve senior high school education. NDC national organizer aspirant says he's ready to face the police against allegations of inciting students against the president. And far-right candidate Jair Bolsonaro wins first round of Brazil's presidential elections. And that's all for now. My name is Efo Atiku. Good afternoon.